Hello, and welcome to the Love Life Connection podcast, a podcast for successful women who feel like they have it all except love. I'm your host, Veronica Grant, a love and life coach. And my only goal with this podcast is to inspire you to believe in yourself and that real love is possible for you, even in our swipe right, swipe left world. Hello, and welcome to a special mini-series on the Love Life Connection podcast called Dating in the Wild. Last week, I released part 1 of this series, which is called Why Meeting People IRL is Easier Than You Think. And while you don't have to listen to that episode before this one, I do recommend listening to it. I talk a lot about dating statistics and where people are meeting their partners today. I think the answers may surprise you and give you pause to how you're working to meet someone right now. In part 2 of the series, I talked about the 3 mistakes and myths my clients have when trying to create more serendipity in their love life. Again, you don't have to listen to that episode before this one. However, I would definitely recommend listening to it before you implement what I talk about in this episode. And today is part 3, and it's called How to Meet More People IRL. And again, if you don't know what IRL means, it means in real life. So basically how to meet people not on the apps. In part 1 of Dating in the Wild, I shared some stats with you about how people meet their spouses, and I want to point out one tiny little detail. Now, again, I'm not going to go into all the stats here because I talk about that in detail in part 1, but I do want to highlight one stat, and that is 6% of people met their spouse through chance encounters. So chance encounters means like you just randomly started talking to someone while you were waiting to cross the street, or someone in line at the Starbucks, or you started talking to, I don't know, just someone random, and then all of a sudden that person became your person that you married. So I think when I talk about creating serendipity, I think this is where a lot of people's mind goes to. They go to these chance encounters, like the single dad's kid talking on the radio, and then somehow you track him down in Seattle and fly out there and magically he falls in love. I mean, come on, right? That's what we think of when we think of serendipity. We think of rom-coms. And you know what? Look, I'm always open for possibility. I'm always open for miracles. I'm always open for great things happening. So who knows? I want you to allow yourself to have room for surprises like that. But I think in general, when we're talking about serendipity, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that almost 80% of people are meeting their spouses off the apps. And so how can you get in on that? How can you leverage the life you already have to potentially meet your partner? And that's really what creating serendipity is all about. It's about building your community. Look, again, maybe you'll be one of those lucky 6% with the cute encounter story, but most of you will meet your person from someone that you already know in your life. And I want you to focus your energy there. So meet your neighbors, make new friends, take classes, find a job, be friends with your coworkers. If you don't like your coworkers, then maybe find a new job where you actually like your coworkers and want to hang out with them. Join a meetup group and don't just be a lurker. There are lots and lots of ways that you can build your community to create more chances for serendipity to happen in your favor. You really never know what or who will lead to who or what. Maybe the barista isn't going to be your soulmate, but maybe they become your friend. And maybe that person invites you to a barbecue at her house and someone else is at that barbecue who happens to be your soulmate. You know what I mean? So I think one of the reasons I've had a lot of success in my business is because a coach that I worked with early on taught me to have the mindset of how can I talk to 2 potential clients today? That doesn't mean I sign on 2 clients a day because that would be insane. And it definitely doesn't mean that I have any attachment to any one person that I talk to in any given day to becoming a client. But if that's my mindset and I'm taking actions based on the question that I'm asking, which is how can I talk to 2 potential clients today, that means I have to stop tinkering on my website or updating my logo for the 10 millionth time and actually talk to people. So reaching out to people via email, reaching out to people via social media, asking people to be on their podcast, doing things that will get me exposed to potential clients. Again, I'm not attached to getting 2 clients a day because that would be insane. And I'm not attached to any one particular interaction turning into a client. It's about creating circumstances that could create the environment for a new client. And I think you can absolutely adopt this mindset to dating. If your mindset is, how can I meet my soulmate today? You might find yourself disappointed a lot. But if your mindset can be instead, how can I have one meaningful interaction today? You'll probably have a lot more wins and you'll probably stay in a better headspace. You won't necessarily meet your person on any given day, but you're creating the environment where it just might happen. So if you followed me for a while, you know that I've moved a lot in the past 6 years. My husband and I met in DC, and then before we got married, we moved to Dallas, Texas together. Then we moved to Denver. Then we got married. Then we moved to the Bay Area. Then we moved to Philly, and now we're in New Jersey. So I've been in a constant state of building my community and meeting friends. And I'm going to share a process that works for me in terms of building my community. And remember, creating serendipity is about expanding your community. It's not hoping that you're going to meet some random dude in a chat room who's also going to ruin your business, who will also be your soulmate. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about serendipity. So I'm sharing this process as someone who is introverted and used to be very, very shy. And even though I don't really consider myself shy, I still would say I struggle with some social anxiety. And I also definitely feel more comfortable in smaller groups and more one-on-one interactions. So I get very, very overwhelmed at a party where I don't know many people. I hate concerts. I hate loud, crowded bars. I hate it when I have to yell at the person sitting next to me just so we can try to have a conversation. And I used to drag myself to those kind of places because I thought I had to. And so much of my social anxiety lifted when I gave myself permission to say, screw that. That is not for me. So what I do now is I make a goal to either reach out to someone once a week or go to some sort of social event. So for me, a social event will look like something Jewish or an entrepreneur meetup event, preferably a female entrepreneur meetup event. So in any given week, I either go to one of those things if there's an event going on, or I reach out to one person I kind of sort of know for a coffee or a drink or whatever. Now, usually these people are someone that I met at one of these events, or there's someone that a friend that lives in another city was like, oh, I know so-and-so, they live near you, you should get together. So, when I have those kinds of connections, I don't reach out to all of those people at once because that'd be so overwhelming. I just, save them for once a week when I need someone new to reach out. So notice my goal is to reach out to one person. I'm not attached, nor is my goal attached to actually having that friend date happen or, making that new friend or building that new community. Because I actually don't have 100% control over that. I can reach out to someone, you can reach out to someone too, but you actually don't have control over whether or not they're going to be reciprocal to your ask. So here's what it's going to look like. So let's say week 1, I go to an event for female entrepreneurs, and let's say I meet someone and we become friendly. We maybe follow each other on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And so we exchange information and then casually talk about, oh, we should meet up and get coffee sometime. Well, I'm one of those people that actually make that happen. And I don't just, say like, oh yeah, let's meet up. And then we never do. So the next week then, if my goal is to go to an event or reach out to one new person a week, I would reach out to this person, send them a quick text or an email or a DM or whatever, and be like, hey, it was super fun to meet last week. Do you have time to meet up for coffee? It'd be really fun to talk about, whatever the thing is that we talked about at the event that we went to. Now, this friend date may or may not happen. I don't have 100% control over that. I do have control over whether or not I reach out to her, and that's what I stay focused on. I stay focused on what I can control. So the thing about this friend date is that it may turn into nothing. We may go on our friend date and not click. She may never reply to my initial text and actually ghost me, or we may become BFFs, or maybe just friendly enough to remain acquaintances, not really BFFs, but we still hang out, see each other within groups of people, and maybe I meet some other people through her, opening a whole other community of people for me to meet. So do you see how this could work? I want you to focus on what you can control. This is what, in my mind, creating serendipity is all about. Create a goal and a mindset that's tied to an action you have 100% control over, and then see what happens. So what would you do every day if your mindset was to interact with one new person each day, rather than how can I meet my soulmate, or just putting so much pressure, on something that you don't ultimately have 100% control over? So if you want me to guide you through this process, including the inner and outer work it takes to build your community and meet potential partners off the apps and IRL, then I hope you'll join me for this year's Serendipity Challenge. It's totally free, and for 5 days, I'll help you create more serendipity in your life so you can build your community and in the process make new friends, attract potential partners, and who knows what else. It's going to be really easy, and I think you'll surprise yourself. So while creating serendipity, it is about manifesting, but it's not about the law of attraction. And actually, I think the law of attraction is super toxic. I've talked a lot about it, and I will talk more about that in the challenge. And in fact, I'm going to wrap up the challenge with a workshop all about how to manifest without the law of attraction. So you'll get more details on that when you sign up for the challenge. So if you're ready to get offline and back into the wild, this is the perfect thing to do. I'll help you get reacquainted with quote unquote normal life, and I'll support you as nerves or anxiety pop up as you take small steps outside of your comfort zone. Plus, as soon as you sign up, I'll send you 25 plus ways to meet people off the apps. And my favorite way is number 26. It's totally free, and you can sign up at veronicagrant.com/serendipity. Thanks for listening to the Love Life Connection podcast. You can find the show notes for this episode at veronicagrant.com/podcast. And that's also the place you can sign up to be coached by me here on the show. And if you love this podcast, please leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. It helps more incredible women like you find this show and find real love. Until next time, remember, wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. You're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. Just because you've never had the relationship you want before doesn't mean you can't have it now.